Before we start today's episode, a bit of housekeeping for all those listeners out there. Whichever your podcast listening platform of choice, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify, reviews can make a huge difference. Not only do we value your feedback, which can help us create better content, but it will also help others discover the podcast. So spread the love and leave a review if you've got a minute. And with that, on with today's show. I'm the Reverend Dr. Jenny McKay, veterinarian and minister in secular employment, environmentalist, activist and self-confessed cat junkie. But believe it or not, I have never crossed the Italian Alps on cross-country skis to raise awareness about the suffering of farm animals. Someone who has is my guest today, Esther Kef from Animal Heroes. Welcome to the show, Esther. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Jenny. I feel honored to be in your show.
Oh, you're very welcome. Now, can you tell me and the listeners about it was a 1,000-kilometre expedition across the Alps and the cause it supported? And I think you and your wife were the first to complete this feat.
Yes, we were. You're correct. And it seems already so long ago, as so many things happened in the meantime, but it wasn't that long ago. It was just before COVID. And I remember sitting with friends, Italian friends, and I talked with them about Italians in general, not thinking much about where the meat comes from that they buy in the supermarket. And that many of them have the idea that what they see on the pictures of their salami is actually the truth. And on these pictures, they see happy pigs walking across the Tuscany hills. And sadly, none of that is true. And I wanted to tell them that. But how do you tell that to millions of Italians? Mm-hmm. And not just Italians, anyone in the world, because the intensive farming is worldwide. And so we came up with the idea of cycling some mountain and doing marathons. And I said, absolutely not. I can't even run 5 kilometers. How am I ever going to run a marathon? And then we came up with the idea of how about we do cross-country skiing, which is something we do. My wife and I do that. We live most of the time in the Italian Dolomites. We are not very good at it, but we can train. We could do that, and at the same time, it's something that no one has done yet. So I'd like the idea because I liked it because it's original, and I thought it might help get some media attention, and actually it did. It was the worst thing I've ever done in my life.
I bet.
Cool. Yeah, it was. And I mean, we were warned. We have friends who are like Olympic champions in all sorts of sports there in the mountains. And one ex-trainer of the Norwegian ski team said, absolutely, it's not possible. You're gonna ruin your body after day 10, and we'll have to come and pick you up with the ambulance. It's not possible. So the word "not possible," I thought, now I want to do it. And we skied for about 40 kilometers a day, so nearly a marathon.
Wow.
And we crossed the Alps from east to west, no, from west to east, sorry, in 35 days. And halfway through, I really thought I would wake up in the morning and start on the skis and really think and reflect, like, what was I thinking? Why am I here? And also, it's a bit like, I think, walking in the desert, like crossing the desert and seeing, a Fata Morgana. So you think you see water, and then it isn't.
Yeah.
And I had that sort of similar feeling because, of course, skiing, it's a tourist activity. So there's lots of very cozy terraces and bars and little huts where people sit and drink a hot chocolate or a beer. And I'm the kind of skier who would stop at any of those normally. And we couldn't because we had to arrive before dark. So we could never stop at any of those. So it was horrible. It was difficult. It was tough. But we did raise a lot of awareness. We were in talk shows in Italy. on Dutch TV, on national newspapers. So, I mean, it requires a long breath because people don't just stop eating meat from the intensive farming. But it did help, I think, to raise some awareness.
Fantastic.
And I will never do it again.
That was my next question. Will you do it again to further raise the awareness?
No.
Someone else can do it next time.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that is wonderful. And I know you are so passionate about helping animals, and that's really reflected in the wonderful organization that you are in called Animal Heroes, and all the work it does across the world and your role in operations. You're a board member, of course, and the listeners, I'm sure, will be really interested to know about your role in that capacity and some of the projects that Animal Heroes is currently involved in.
Well, Animal Heroes is a very young organization. We're actually, I consider it a startup. We started officially in 2022. And it was founded after I came back from Ukraine, which was just after the war had started. I was there to set up 8 projects for another nonprofit I was working for at the time. And when I was there, I still remember I met an elderly lady in Ukraine who had really nothing. She was living off 2-3 eggs a week and a very, very little pension. And she had no electricity most of the time. So she was in the cold. It was very cold. And her neighbors had all evacuated to Poland. There was no bomb shelter, nothing. And this lady stayed behind because she had taken in 40, I don't know if there were 30 or 40, but there were many dogs that she had taken in from neighbors who had just left Ukraine, leaving their dogs behind. So she was risking her life to save these abandoned animals. And I was so touched by that, by her selflessness and her courage, that when I came back home, I couldn't forget about this lady. And I was in a sort of phase of my life, like I also still worked I had my own company next to the other work I did. And I thought, what difference am I making here, actually? And I just woke up one day and decided, or actually the next day, more or less, that I wanted to help this lady and people like her. And 2 months later, Animal Heroes was a fact. And Animal Heroes, the word says it, we support animal heroes in need. So people that risk their lives or that make great sacrifices to help and save animals. So these are people in war zones, conflict zones, but also natural disasters.
Yeah. So it all started from that experience with one lady.
Yes, it's all started from that. And we officially started, paperwork was all finished in November 2022, but we didn't start until February 2023. We weren't ready yet. We didn't have the bank account yet. The website wasn't up and running yet. But Hatay earthquake happened. And as an emergency aid organization for animals, we had to make a decision. Like, okay, are we going to just pretend it didn't happen and wait for our bank account to be ready? Or are we going to see if we can actually do something? And we chose the second part, the second decision, and went to Hatay with our vet, the first vet that joined our team, and 3 other people. And we went on our first mission in Hatay, helping a local organization there in a field hospital to help injured animals. And we were climbing up broken buildings to rescue animals that had been abandoned because people had to escape. So especially if you have a cat, you can't just run out of the building and take your cat because the cat will flee and run away. So that was our first mission.
Oh, tragic. And just going back to the lady in Ukraine, do we know what happened to her?
Yes, she's still there. We're still in contact, and she's still caring for animals, and she's doing.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. And of course, as you said, you're dealing with animal heroes that are in terrible war zones. And I'm sure everybody's really aware of what's going on in Gaza and the West Bank currently. Could you tell me about some of the maybe less appreciated challenges of providing emergency aid to animals in an active war zone like that?
Yes, we had from the beginning, and also I've had experience also before in working in Ukraine, and despite all the trouble there, and the fact that it is a war zone, with my previous organization, we were able to send 30 trucks of food across the border. Now, one of the biggest difficulties that we have operating in Gaza is that nothing goes out and nothing comes in. And it has taken us 9 months to find a way to get food into Gaza. And that's thanks to the fact that we set up an alliance, which is called the Animals in Gaza Alliance, together with Safe Haven for Donkeys from the UK, an amazing organization that saves donkeys, horses, and mules in Egypt, Israel, and also on the West Bank and in Gaza. And together with our Finnish partner, Animal Aid Without Borders. So together with them, we were able to send, we have 2 trucks of food and medicine ready to cross. And it's mainly thanks to Safe Haven for Donkeys, who already had a collaboration with the Palestinian Red Crescent. But it's stuck there. It's been waiting since September of last year. And we finally had the green light. That was straight after the ceasefire happened, that our first truck, was supposed to cross into Gaza the first week of March. Literally 2 days before the borders closed again. So that's one very big challenge that we're dealing with. So in the meantime, as a plan B, what we're doing is we're buying food locally. And we can do that, but that brings us to the second challenge, and that is that the food prices are through the roof. And it's not just the food prices, it's the problem of cash. Yeah. And in Ukraine, I've been there many times, and you can even buy peppermint anywhere you want using credit card. It's a digitalized country, and the bank system has never been affected. In Gaza, if you want to buy anything, you have to pay cash. And to pay cash on most things, you have to pay cash. And the banks are closed. The banks have been bombed. There are no banks open in Gaza. So there are people that have like money offices, but they charge 23% on average of commission. So on top of the high prices, you also have to deal with these high commissions of people making advantage of this. And so that's the second big issue, a big challenge. And then there's the third one, that's one of safety. We have a team member, colleague, a veterinarian called Dr. Ayed, working in Gaza. He runs a pop-up clinic for animals, for animal heroes. And he has been hit by an airstrike the day before the ceasefire. We can't guarantee the safety of people there, which is also the reason why we have not been able to send anyone from our European team into Gaza. We can only work with people locally, but their safety is as important to us as it would be any other team member. And thankfully, our vet survived, but he had 2 broken legs. He had to be operated, and he still has metal pins in his leg. And now that we're trying to find a way to get to ensure that he gets the decent care, which is not easy at the moment in Gaza. So that's a third challenge that we are at risk of injuries and of life every day.
And I guess if the blockade continues, then there will not even be any food at high prices. And I read somewhere that they're running out of paper money as well.
Well, that is strange because it must still be in Gaza. You think it goes around. Maybe somebody's sitting on it or maybe, I don't know. But the prices have gone up again. And now we've been able to buy new supplies, medicine, like just 2 days ago. Our vet, which is actually another challenge, is that once you've set up something, it doesn't just stand. It could collapse the next day again. Yeah. That happened also in Turkey, where we were actually in the second big earthquake. We were working in the field hospital. I was there as well, assisting our vet, holding a dog. And there was a huge earthquake and the whole field hospital collapsed. So we had to rebuild everything. And that's the same in Gaza. One day, our doctor is operating on an animal, and the next day he has to run for his life and evacuate with the family to another city and start again from there. So it's the situation can change not just by the day, but by the hour. And that makes things complicated.
It's very, very difficult indeed. And you know as well that I am a big cat lover. And we've got lots of cat-loving listeners on the podcast. And again, coming back to Gaza, there's a wonderful project going on with one of the ladies there, isn't there? Mariam Hassan. And she's caring for 65 cats in North Gaza. What a challenge that must be.
Yes, Mariam really touched my heart. I'm in contact with animal heroes every day. And they're all special to me in one way or another. Mariam has really gone somehow underneath my skin because of her complete selflessness. She has never asked us for a penny of support. Can you believe it?
Never.
She is well, initially when the war started, she cared for 65 cats. And she decided not to evacuate to the south of Gaza because she could not live. She could not go with her cats, and she decided that she was going to die with her cats. She was resigned to that fate, and there was nothing we could do or anyone could do to make her change her mind. And this is a very young girl. She decided that if this is God's will, she will die with her cats. And obviously, Gaza is impossible to live and survive, but North Gaza was the worst of the whole country. So she and the family have been starving up to the point that Mariam said this was just maybe 1 or 2 weeks before the ceasefire happened. She said, Esther, okay, I want to do an interview with you because I want you to tell my story to the world, which initially she didn't want. And I never pressed her for it. I'd offered this to her, but I wanted her to be able to be very free to decide if she wanted this or not. Because I suggested to her, say, people in the world need to hear your story. And then one day she contacted me and she says, this is the end. I am not going to live long anymore. I want to do this interview. So I was really so touched by that because we couldn't do anything. We can't. This poor, innocent, selfless girl was dying and her family were dying because for a year they had nothing else to eat than lentils and bread. So she was suffering of severe shortage of vitamins and all sorts of other things that you need to survive. And she could barely stand up straight. And despite all this, she had managed to keep all her cats alive. She risked her lives to go and get food, which was always very, very, very difficult to go and cross the road. And sometimes she had to travel far. And it's thanks to an amazing group of supporters that is really has created a sort of community that donates through us. We are actually, sadly and surprisingly, the only organization in the world that supports her financially. So thanks to these donors that kept supporting for Mariam on a monthly basis or every week or every so often would send money, really from all over the world, all cat lovers. we were able to send her money more or less every month. And she was able to go and buy food at prices that I didn't even want to think about. I didn't want a calculation because I thought if I start thinking about this, I'm not going to send her the money because I know that how many other animals we could help for the same amount of money. It's the only way. The only way is to not think about it, pay it. And it worked. The cats survived until the moment in which she dreaded the most. Marianne said, I don't know what I'm going to do if I'm forced by the IDF to leave the house. And I remember it was a Saturday morning and I got a message of Marianne crying. The IDF had given her the evacuation order and she did not know what to do. And I said, you have to just go. Yes. The cats will need you alive. If it's not these cats, it's other cats. That was the only thing I could say for her to convince her. Because if I would have said to her, Mariam, you're a young girl, you have a whole life ahead of you, please go. She would have not gone. And she did. She went away. It lasted one night. The next day, she was gone. We didn't hear for 4 days. I contacted her brother, who lives in Norway, to ask, please, what's happening? Yeah. And he didn't hear, nobody heard anything. And then a day later, I got a message from her brother saying she was alive. She had stayed one night at some relative and decided to go back home to feed her cats.
Oh, heartbreaking.
Yes. With the tanks in the street. Can you imagine? This is something we can see on films.
I know.
Sadly, though, because of this, in those weeks leading up to the ceasefire, and that was the most frustrating thing from my side, we had money. We had money the whole time for her cats, but there were weeks in which there simply was no food, not for humans, not for animals. And because of that, some of the cats died in the meantime because of bad food. They've been eating bread and lentils. Cats cannot survive on.
No.
So she's lost quite a few cats. She now has 46 left. And 2 weeks ago, one of her favorite cats died. His name is James, and she had him for 6 years. Well, no. He was a disabled cat who learned to walk again. It was a cat that was really close to her heart, and due to the food, the diet, eventually died. And Mariam is very down, extremely down since.
Oh, it is. It's heartbreaking, isn't it? And so amazing that these people, they care for the animals so much. They will put them above their own lives.
Yes, and Mariam and people like Mariam and every time reminds me of the reason why we exist. This is why I get out of bed every day, is to help people. I'm really fortunate, privileged person for being born in Europe, and to be able to do something, at least try something. To help people like them, they really deserve our help. And for us, it's a little effort. For them, it changes the world,
isn't it? Absolutely. And everyone who's listening to this is an animal lover, and we'll get more details later on of how we can help animal heroes directly. Now, I'm very biased towards cats, but I am going to touch on another project, a dog project, your Doghouse Villages project. And these were shelters that were helping dogs survive in the very, very harsh Ukrainian winters. Can you tell me a little bit, Esther, of the work involved around those shelters and the benefits you've seen to the people and the animals during that project?
Yes, I don't remember how often I've been, but on one of my trips to the Ukraine, I visited a shelter near Lviv, and that shelter, even though it wasn't directly really in the hot zone of a lot of bombing, it's quite a sort of between brackets safer area of Ukraine, they still are affected financially. And not just financially, also a lot of dogs from Mykolaiv, from Bakhmut, from Kherson, where there's heavy fighting taking place. These dogs are taken to the shelters in the south. So, like many shelters in Ukraine, they maybe have a capacity for 200 dogs, and they have 400 dogs or 500 dogs. Or there are even shelters where there are 3,000 dogs. So they're all overcrowded. So we were actually visiting that shelter for a different project because the water had been contaminated and they needed a new water pump, which we managed to install thanks to our partner for the project, World Animal Protection. We noticed that all these dogs were just running around. They didn't have a place to go because it was crowded. There were no dog houses left. And while we were walking there, we were walking on ice. It was like a skating rink. And it was terribly cold. And I asked, like, what is it you need here most? And the lady said, dog houses. The dogs do not have dog houses.
Right.
We always ask the locals because they know what their animals need best. And so we started the doghouse village project, and it was really nice because we started with I think it was Valentine's Day, and then for Christmas, where people could actually donate instead of giving a Christmas gift, they could give compassion. They can give us a gift in the name of someone or a loved one. They could give a doghouse. Then we realized that it was too much work to actually administer and register all the names and make the plates. And we're all volunteers. We just can't manage that anymore. But we did continue with the doghouse projects. Then we've built, I think, 6 or 7 doghouse villages so far across Ukraine. And the dogs love it. We get them the cutest videos of dogs going in and out of their new houses. It's really it's a fun project, and it's not luxury because these animals, apart from shelter from the cold, which is obvious they need it, dogs especially need their own space. They need to have a place where they can feel safe and where they can chill out. And now we've actually done also we've installed a doghouse village in Turkey, because the Turks, I've seen our Facebook post, who said we're in the snow. I didn't know they had snow in Turkey, but apparently mountains and snow. And so now we built a doghouse village in a shelter in Turkey as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. You may be building doghouse villages in other countries as well. You never know. They're very successful, aren't they?
It's a very popular project, and we just keep going with it.
Wow. And I think the lovely thing about these projects that you see that they go on and they've got lasting impact and lasting success, which continues many months after you started them. So, for example, I know, as we've said, you've been donating food for animals in the war zones, and also you've been helping exploited donkeys in Turkey. Can you tell me a little bit about how those stories have been going and how Animal Heroes ensures that those conditions really remain stable after you step away from the project, I suppose, and leave it in the hands of the local people?
Yes, and we always try to find ways to help that can be sustainable. We don't always manage. It's not always feasible, especially because we provide emergency aid. So when we start a project, it's not meant to go on for life. It's meant to do something in a moment of really emergency. So the reason we decided to help the donkeys that had exploded, they were actually drugs donkeys. They were used to cross from Syria over into Turkey, carrying drugs and gasoline, diesel, for that you put in the cars. And they were so tired, and when they get injured, they just get dumped. You can buy a donkey for €1 in Turkey. It's probably the animal that is treated the worst in the entire country. Yeah. And we decided to help them because they were affected by the earthquake. Yeah. The vet that set up this project, his house was totally damaged. It was unlivable, and he didn't seem to care about that. He didn't give a toss. All he cared about was, yes, my donkeys, but I need to make sure they're okay. And so we decided to support the donkeys through a period of time because they needed they needed money for food, they needed some money for refencing, and we also visited the project as we always do. We always visit our project if it's safe enough. So we were there, and personally, I absolutely love donkeys. So
yes, I do as well.
Absolutely love donkeys, and it's so beautiful to see that there is someone who dedicates his life to give donkeys a second chance, even if they may not even live that long because they are really injured, they have problems, they are traumatized, they are sick and old, but they can have the last phase of their life in peace there. But this actually is one example where it wasn't so sustainable because the city council decided for political reasons to close to take back the land. So the donkeys had to move. And in the end, the center had to close. So obviously that's something no one could have foreseen. They thought they were able to stay there indefinitely, but they changed some local politicians. And well, I will not go into all the details. I'll probably get very angry again if I did. And the donkeys were then transported to another center in another side of the country, and we paid for it. So we made sure that even in that situation, that the donkeys ended up safe.
And the person who looked after them, was he able to go with them, or did he stay in the same area?
No, he stayed in the same area because he has a small daughter and who goes to school there, and he still runs a veterinarian practice, so that he does. But he sadly had to say goodbye to the donkeys because there's no other place in the area.
Place. Well, at least he knows that they're safe somewhere else. So
yeah. And then that's also a sad reality that I think it's important to share, that people that live for making a difference to animals often don't get support from local governments, but they get actually the opposite. Yes. And I see that in many places where we go, also in the West Bank, where we support a shelter by a lady called Diana, who used to be a bank director and now runs a shelter for animals, the only registered shelter. And the local council makes them pay crazy amounts for just the water bill. Things like that.
And they're completely reliant on animal heroes.
Yes, they are. And the animal heroes are dependent on donations from animal lovers.
And as you said, those locations that you work in, the resources are just so scarce and the tensions are really running high. How do you go about, Esther, building trust with the local communities and the animal carers? Trust is a big thing, isn't it?
Yes, trust is a big thing. And at the same time, it's something we've never had issues with. It all went very naturally because it's often it's actually the shelters or the local animal heroes that contact us and ask if we can help them. So they have maybe already heard from us or about us. And in some cases, it's actually us contacting them. And when we say what we do, that we want to help them, normally they're so on their own, they're so dependent on any help that they are always really welcoming if anyone contacts them to say, how can I help you? So normally they're very welcoming. What we didn't expect is that also the communities are very welcoming and often react also quite emotional, quite touched. For example, when we went to Hatay, we went twice because we are volunteers. So some of our people also have to go back to work sometimes. So we went there, came back, and then went back again to Hatay. And the second time, all the European or Western, also the American organizations had left by then. And we were the only ones at that time still left in Hatay helping them. And people, when they would see us, would get emotional and would just want to hug us or say thank you. Even in the airport, we came back in the airport. I don't know about you, Jenny, but I've never got anything for free in the airport in my life.
No.
Until we arrived at Istanbul airport, the people behind the bar where we ordered something to drink, they said, no, you don't pay anything. Thank you.
Gosh.
And that's what happened in the whole of Turkey. It was embarrassing because nobody allowed us to pay anything. And it's the same, not different in the West Bank. We were walking around with our blonde hairs and orange shirts, and there wasn't a single person on the street who wouldn't say hello, thank you for being here.
Oh, amazing.
And we've never thought that would happen.
No.
Maybe even the opposite. We even put it in our risk assessment. Yeah. Going to the West Bank, that think maybe people could get angry or offended, or that we are there to help animals and that we're not there to help the people. But it's on the contrary.
Everyone has been so welcoming. That's amazing. And I know you've got these really bright orange T-shirts, haven't you, with animal heroes emblazoned on it. So yes. You're very identifiable.
Yes. If anyone wants to abduct us, and it's very easy to identify us. You can see us from miles.
And the other thing about all these projects is just how do you coordinate it across all these multiple countries? How do you manage the logistics in such challenging environments? It's not just about the one person or the one vet that you're helping. It's all the other aspects of getting the help in there as well.
Yes, I think it's a bit like being an octopus. You need to have a lot of arms and a lot of computers, and it gets tricky. It's complicated at times, especially when two big projects start at the same time. As an emergency aid organization, we are reactive. We wait for something to happen and then we start running. Of course, we have protocols ready, but we never know in advance when an earthquake might happen or when a war starts. And this happened last year when we had we were setting up our shipment and our strategic alliance for Gaza. And at the same, just more or less in the same time frame, the war started between Lebanon and Israel. So suddenly, and the other projects keep running, of course. So we found ourselves working twice the amount of hours, and we managed to do it. But of course, there's always more that we could have done, or that we should have done, or we would have wanted to do. We can only do what we can do with the resources that we have. And we started with 3 board members. And now we are nearly 30 people, 30 volunteers from literally all over the world. We have a stagiaire from the Andaman Islands. And I'm not going to say where that is. I'm going to leave it to the listeners to go on the atlas to find out what this is. But I'm very proud about the diversity in our team, and I think it that's what helps. We have people with logistics experience. We have people with security safety experience. So it's not just me doing everything alone. We're a team of people, but still it's tricky. And I work on average 80 hours a week for Animal Heroes. And I don't get paid, so I'm a poor animal lover, animal protector. But I am really happy to do this, because it's not a job, it's a mission. You can't, how can I possibly go on the golf course on Sunday morning and say to Dr. Aed in Gaza, sorry, call me back on Monday 9 a.m. It's not possible.
No, it's a passion, isn't it? A passion and a mission.
It's a mission, and we give our word to animal heroes locally everywhere in the world, and also it's something in our team that we value, that we honor our word, and we expect that also from our animal heroes. So it means that it's also a big responsibility when we decide to support a project. Like now in Jenin, we just set up an emergency veterinary clinic for stray animals because there is nothing there to help animals. It means that we have a responsibility towards people that work there, and also to make sure that the finances come in. So it's a passion, but it's also something that doesn't end at Friday 6 o'clock.
No, and things may happen to them in the middle of the night, and they need help and support. But I'm sure you must take some time off to relax, Esther. Probably not a lot, but just some to clear your head.
I do. Actually, on Sunday, I'm very nervous because we have adopted a dog from the West Bank, a Palestinian dog called Jaffa. And she's a complete savage. She's completely disobedient, but apparently she's very good with the nose work. So she's going together with me and my wife to an official national, how do you call it? Like a competition where she has to identify fennel seeds.
Okay.
So that's what I do in my time off.
Oh, well, I hope she wins. What fun that will be anyway.
Well, I don't think she'll win. I just hope she doesn't make me look like a complete fool.
And you'll have some people to talk to about animal heroes as well.
Yes.
Well, I am truly inspired by you, Esther, and the whole Animal Heroes team itself. As you said, it's a small project or relatively small project team, but that means that you can be nimble, I suppose, in the way that you react, but you also need support and donations as well.
Yes.
So if you could just tell the listeners and myself, what is the best way that people can go around supporting animal heroes?
The best way is to go to our website, which is animalheroes.eu from Europe, and you can choose there which project you want to support. And that's one thing that I've always found very important. It irritated me myself when you want to support a charity and you don't really know what's going to happen to your money. So I always said, when we start this, I want to make sure that we don't just update people about how the money was spent, but we want to also give people the choice to say which project they want to support, and then all the money goes there. So it's on animalheroes.eu. You find all our projects, and if you get confused and you can't choose, there's also right in the right hand top a button for donation, and it's then the general donation, and then we choose for you on your behalf.
And you're also very active on social media as well, aren't you? I think you're on Instagram and Facebook.
Yes, thank you. I always forget to say that. I'm not very good with the socials myself, but if you would like to follow our work, you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok even, and Facebook through @animalheroes.eu.
Wonderful.
Oh, and if I can say this, if anyone has any questions, one of the things I always hate when I want to contact an organization and I get a tape number with like a tape and dial 1 for this and dial 2 for this. If anyone would like to get in contact, they can actually reach me personally by my mobile via WhatsApp, and it's on the website too.
Oh, that's marvelous. And that's available on your webpage.
Yes.
Marvelous. Well, great to talk to you, Esther. You're a very, very motivating person. Thank you for your wonderful mission. I know that many people and many animals benefit from what you do. So I wish you all the very best in your future endeavors. And pleasure to speak to you. Thank you.
Just mine. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Bye.